right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, Yo-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. How we feeling on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon?
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Yep.
I'm starting to cause a stir in the gym, doing some pro athlete workouts. People are looking like Strutty in the grocery store. Having a peek here and there, like that guy means business. It's getting
Really?
serious.
So what does that mean? You're getting like a sweat going? You're doing exercises that people like are not familiar with? Or
What do you mean I'm getting a sweat
well,
going?
there are different levels of sweating.
No, it's because what you do is you go there and move your legs and you get in your car without a drop of sweat on you.
Well, that's not true. That's not true. But I will say this. My wife we were both at the gym like last week, and she's like, that routine, what are you doing? Like well, I'm
questioned your routine.
Yeah, like,
Dude, you're weird in general, but your gym like outdoor activity routine, like shooting hoops by yourself, telling people you want half the court for your free throws, it's
yeah.
Anyway, I'm mandatory. I'm sweating bullets after my warm up. I have to do 30 minutes of cardio before I even put eyes on my life coach. 30-minute warm up.
Okay, but again,
dude,
what is
my
that?
whole life I've never done a warm up. Nothing.
So even when you were in your prime, they didn't have you on the bike for 45 minutes before?
Dude, if it was like if I was meeting a trainer, it'd be give me 10 minutes and then let's chuck some weight around and I'll be ready to rock.
Okay.
But
He walks in, touches his toes, and away he goes.
Right.
Like when you're younger, honestly, and a lot of guys used to do this. When you're 21 years old, you can run forever, you can work out forever, and your flexibility, like you heal overnight. Like you pop something, it's like the next day, not a problem. The older you get, by the time you're 34 playing hockey, like you need 45 minutes just to get out of bed and just to get into the gym and go, okay, now my body's ready to do something. So it's I don't know. Like I see it all the time. I used to go to the gym with my trainer and stuff, and there would be guys that I could see them get out of their car, walk in, and then start doing bench presses. Like no warm up, no nothing. That's just how it used to
what
be.
is it you're doing that you're sweating? Because I know you. You could ride the bike for an hour, not sweat, and get in your car.
Yeah, I do that. Like I'll jump on a bike, I'll get a treadmill going. Try to activate the core. I'm big on core workouts, right? Like that's something I'm really trying to bring to the table. Activate the core, get a squat in, get a lunge. I have a really, I think, substantial lunge approach to the gym where I'm lunging basically all over the place. And I don't know, man. I could use some help, admittedly. I'm getting help. I'm getting there. I was the opposite way when I was younger. I used to do cardio a lot, and then by the end of the summer, I'd be like going back to camp, and they're like, you got to really get something going here with the bench press. You're going to go test in front of the GM in like 3 days. You can barely press 125.
Which makes you think we did it wrong the whole time. Like, I look back on it, it's like, why not call the fitness guy and say, give me a list of the tests we're doing, and just, like, knock those out of the park, and then everyone is just going to be just thrilled with what you've done.
I know. The hardest part I've found, there should be a balance in between because you're going to hockey camp. You're going to training camp for hockey. You're not going to training camp for bench press or push-ups or all of the things that we used to do. So it would drive me nuts. Like, and there was a fine line because I think there's a famous line from Wayne Gretzky where he said, I've never seen an exercise bike score a goal. Mm-hmm. Billy Smith, my old goalie coach, was like, never seen an exercise bike stop a puck. Come over here. We're going to play tennis. We're going to do hand-eye. We're going to work on the mental approach. And yes, we need to be in shape. But there's a fine line where there would be guys at training camp who could bench press, it was a 1/3, 2 plates or 1 plate and do it 50 times. But they couldn't make a tape pass.
Yeah, couldn't cross
what the hell
over.
are they going to do, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So to me, like fitness is what you individually want. Oh, you wanted to be in better shape. Hayes, you're trying to get in better shape. Me, I work out so I can eat whatever the hell I want. Like that's really like and that's the wrong it's the wrong thought process because you work out and work hard, and then all of a sudden you wash it down with chicken fingers. Like,
yeah, but who cares? It's your life, though. That's the thing. Like, it doesn't. What are we preparing for? Like,
nothing.
I appreciate that everyone's getting. Oh, you're getting in shape. You're creating a buzz at the gym. That's great. But like, what is the end goal of this outside of feeling good and all that? But what are we training towards?
I've gone to the flip side where I'm not just gonna get in shape, I'm gonna get ripped.
So you're going above and beyond. Like, this is a transformation.
I don't know if it's gonna be like competition type stuff.
I see.
But I want to go the full distance where you're an absolute monster.
That's great.
Absolute monster to ripped.
Okay.
Yeah, but the ripped part, like, to go to the competitions, I always thought this was a little bit weird. They go in the tanning bed and they're all oiled up and their face, like, it looks so unhealthy, even though they're beyond ripped and
well, it's all
I'm not
and
talking
stuff too.
about. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like Brad Pitt ripped. Because I have scar. You know how we talk about in sports, people have scar tissue.
Yeah,
I have scar tissue. I had to do some things that are below what I expect of myself. I've been in Walmart looking at 3X stuff. I don't want to be doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what are we talking? Are we talking medium? Are we getting like we're no? We need an end goal here. We're moving towards different sizes, different areas of Walmart or wherever you happen to shop.
It's nice to finally start putting on some XL things.
Okay. I got an appreciation for that.
And I've been in XL since I've been 16 years old, so I don't plan on making the jump from XL to L.
All right.
Yeah.
But you start sniffing around some 4X, 3X. That is like, it's like losing a playoff series. You're looking around to see who's seeing you. Is someone taping me in the 4X section?
Yeah. Well, hopefully there's no paparazzi tracking you while you're looking for a 4X. But yeah, listen, I'm supportive. I think we're all supportive. I think that's great. Yeah, listen, and you're a well-known figure, too. That's another thing about being at the gym, right? Like, you're there. My thing is, where I'm going right now, Planet Fitness down the street from me, they've got, like, hydro massage and massage chairs, and I spend a lot of time in there to the point where I'm a little bit concerned people are like...
If you want to talk about a hidden camera, I want someone to catch you on tape, what your actually routine is. Because I can see you, like the chairs in the mall, you just let your wife shop, and you put the quarters in the chair at the mall, and you just sit back and relax.
It's a great setup. It's a great way to decompress, right? And it's a mental break. And I start thinking about the show, and I'm like, I'm excited for 4 o'clock. Yeah, and it's a reward after a great workout, after really getting a sweat going.
As long as you work out, because I remember there were times you're like, I was at the gym for 90 minutes, and like, what did you do? I walked around, shot hoops,
worked on my layups.
You could put 2 hours at the gym, and nothing comes out of it other than the fact that you were in a different place. I
actually think if you go to the gym and shoot layups or whatever you do with that.
I don't do that anymore, to clarify.
Cable guy routine, Chip Douglas doing down and backs. I think you forfeit. Like, you can't even say to people you've gone to the gym.
No, you're right. You went to play basketball. You didn't go to the gym.
If you're going and getting on a massage chair and getting a pedi, that's not going to the gym.
Right. And again, to clarify, I'm putting in a lot of core work. A lot of stuff in terms of the treadmill. The Stairmaster gets me every time. I'm moving in that direction. I'm just saying afterwards, I might double back, like after the 10 minutes is up, go back to the front and say, can you loop me back around on the hydro massage, which I'm not sure they see often, is what I'm saying. When you go in for a second dose of the hydro, I don't think that's common practice. But I'm trying to break trends, right? I'm trying to change things. And anyway, that's kind of leads us into what we've got going this afternoon. We got a big show today. We got Ross Tucker coming up from Vegas. Ross was a longtime NFLer, great analyst. He's coming up in about 10, 15 minutes. Jake Delhomme, not Jake Plummer. Jake Delhomme will join us.
Do we have the intro where we thought we had Jake the Snake Plummer on, and then he goes, Delhomme.
Yeah, we'll play it, but we're not going to play it for him because we don't need him to hang up and realize he's on with us again.
Obviously not, but we can play it beforehand. But that was That was the King Daddy topper of pre-tapes for me when we were like, what, you teed it up. You're like, so excited, man. Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
Plummer. And he's like, it's Delhomme.
It's actually, guys, it's Jake Delhomme. Here he is back on OverDrive, longtime NFLer. We haven't had him on in a couple of years. He's always great to have on. Here is Jake Plummer. What's happening, Jake?
It's Delhomme, not Plummer, if you want to reset it.
That's great.
Oh, my God. My heart hurts.
Dude. Don't ever play that again. It's
My heart hurts.
It's so disturbing that that's us. That's me. Like, that's going into the foxhole and being told you have Jake Plummer on the line. I'll never forget it. The grappler was very excited. And it was like, all right, how would I know otherwise? Like,
Yes.
well, let's go.
That was
3,
the
2, 1.
equivalent of the grappler telling us to get the show notes in the middle of the 401, and we had to go get them.
Right.
Because we just got steam. Just play it one more time.
No, I cannot do it
Dude,
again. It's
one more
so
time,
bad.
and that's it.
Please.
Play it
We will
one more
never-
time,
we
and
will
that's it.
never-
We're never
Here he is
doing
back
it again.
on OverDrive, longtime NFLer. We haven't had him on in a couple of years. He's always great to have on. Here is Jake Plummer. What's happening, Jake?
It's Delhomme, not Plummer, if you want to reset it.
That's sickening. Absolutely disgusting display of broadcasting. Do you know how lucky we are that was a pre-tape? Because it was a pre-tape. We taped that at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If that was live, my head would have absolutely exploded. You want to see Bill O'Reilly? Dude, I would have gone Bill O'Reilly times a...
Yeah.
What the hell is going on here? Like, it was an honest mistake. You know, you're texting with people, calling people, Jake Plummer, Jake Delhomme. Yeah. It happens. And in the end, we actually reset. He was an awesome guest. I can't wait to catch up with him.
I get
this time
that.
I can actually say, haven't had him on in a couple of years. Here's our buddy Jake Delhomme, and that's an honest assessment.
I know, but we were like, that was a screw job. Like, we were told, Jake Plummer, Jake the Snake. I remember the text, Jake the Snake Plummer. I'm like, that's pretty cool. 16 Broncos stud, American stud, like,
mullet, whole
mullet,
thing.
Everything. And then it was like Delhomme, and it
Jake
was
Delhomme. Like, Jake Delhomme has been a quarterback in a Super Bowl. This isn't some scrub off the street. You know, that played college ball in D3 somewhere. This is a guy who took time out of his day and had us tee him up as Jake Plummer. So we've got Delhomme back at 6:30, and we think, I mean, maybe it's Jake Plummer. I don't know. I guess it could be anybody at this point, but we're pretty sure Jake Delhomme will join us.
That actually,
and we're looking forward to that.
Sparks a nerve. Like that one, I completely forgot about that transaction.
So cringy.
Like that might be top 5 cringe on our show. Like, and we've had a few things that have happened to us over the years.
It's tough to get to the top 5, but that one certainly does.
That one's 100% in it. Like, there's no question that's in the top 5, probably top 3. Anyway, Jake Delhomme, we believe, will join us at 6:30. So we're getting close to the Super Bowl. We're looking forward to that. The Leafs are back in action tonight. Ilya Samsonov getting a start, which I'm not surprised by. But I do wonder if, like, we're going to have, after the game tonight, if he struggles, like, when do we start having the Martin Jones chat again? Like, I know he ran into a wall, but he hasn't played in, like, 2 weeks now.
Yeah, like,
I thought he was really good. Like, why isn't this still a tandem?
I thought, I don't know why. It kind of reeks a little bit of, like, some desperation where they're like, what guy can go in there and do the best job to get us a win? Because we talked about it where he ran out of gas, and you can tell in that trip out west. But hasn't he had enough rest to kind of slide back in there and try to get away? Like, that's enough rest, isn't it? I don't know.
It is, but now it leads me to believe that there's more at play here. Like, you're trying to get Wall back, and then, you know, are you going to try and get Jones through waivers? Because I believe he needs waivers again. He's been up long enough and played enough.
He won't get through this time.
Well, it's there's.
Or am I crazy saying that?
No, I don't think you're crazy saying that. I'm just wondering, like, would Carolina put a claim in? Would, New Jersey put a claim in? Like, teams that
I would if I were those teams, and I felt I had no faith in my backup
or needed depth in that position. It's just I don't know. Like, I'm thinking about it. It's just, yes, Samsonov's going, but again, I come back to it. I think I was asked this, I don't know if this show or SportsCenter or something, like, what do you do with Samsonov and Jones? Like, you can't run one of them. Like, to me, this is a tandem again. It should be a tandem.
I
That's
agree.
The way I see.
I'm in the same boat. That's why, again, I'm not surprised Samsonov's going in because he had played well before the break. He was pretty good the other night. It was not perfect, but pretty good. He's coming off a week off. They didn't play yesterday, no travel. Okay, you're going to go back to him, but I just question, like, at what point do you put Martin Jones back in to give him an opportunity, I think, to redeem himself and play maybe the way he was a month ago, which was the best goaltending they've basically had all year. I don't think Samsonov is out of the woods as like a determined number one. Yet this would indicate that it's leaning in that direction because they're playing him again tonight. In Dallas, they played in Buffalo last night, so you're getting a team on a back-to-back. They won. They're a really good team. It's going to be a tough matchup tonight. So we'll catch up with Craig Berube just after 5 o'clock. We got Darren Dreger coming up today. A lot on the Leafs tonight. The Oilers finally losing last night. We'll get into that. First impressions in Vancouver, Winnipeg, Calgary. A lot to get into from last night as well. But we'll hit Vegas a couple times. Ross Tucker coming up. Jake Delhomme coming up. Role play level of concern coming up today at 5:30. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. We were anticipating some crazy scenes out of Vegas. I'm not sure we were expecting a lunatic to climb the Sphere in Vegas. Have you seen this recent development?
Oh, yeah.
Like, just no, like, ropes or anything? Just climbing it?
I have no idea how he possibly could get up there. Like, physics alone, how do you climb the Sphere? I don't know. But he's up there, and I guess he got up there and didn't know how to get down, which is brilliant. You know, that's always a good plan. Let's climb this thing, and then, you know, we'll make plans once we get to the top. But, there's their start. Super Bowl week out there in Vegas. And let's head there now. We're getting close to game time, and here is former NFLer, CBS and Westwood analyst Ross Tucker. How you doing, Ross?
I'm doing okay, guys, but I'm a little scared up here on the Sphere right now. I don't know how I'm going to get down.
What is going on out there, man?
Like how banged up do you got to be to do that? Or is that some kind of daredevil that does that on a regular basis? What's going on out there?
I have no idea, but hopefully you're not too banged up to be doing that, because that sounds like it could end real poorly. I mean, it could end real poorly anyway. But certainly if you're banged up, that would make it even scarier.
Absolutely. And, like, Vegas is it's softened over the years. Now that, you know, sports are there, the NHL's there, the NFL's there. It's gone Disney in some capacities. You see kids running around. But is there any nerves from, like, the NFL and even media companies on the fact that there's so many people there in Vegas representing the Shield, and it is Vegas after all? Like, are people nervous crazy stuff could happen this week or what?
You know, I've heard a little bit of that, but I tend to think that that's overrated. I mean, I don't know what people are all worried about. I mean, if you're looking for trouble, you can kind of get in trouble pretty much anywhere, right? I don't think you have to be in Las Vegas to get in trouble. So I think that's a little bit overstated, but we'll see. I'm sure that there are people in particular from the league office that are nervous about it.
Ross, what's your personal diet like for this week? I know everywhere you go, you post pictures of the food, cold beers. You love cold beers. You just get after it this week, or is it back to the gym at the hotel, or what's your routine health-wise?
Great question. So I've been getting up around like 3:45 because I record my shows like the Ross Tucker football podcast or the Even Money betting podcast. I record those at 5 a.m. local.
Oh, boy.
So by the time I get up and whatever and get over to Radio Row, I'm there recording my shows for a couple hours. And then I've been doing all kinds of interviews that I'm banking for the off season when I'll be traveling and with my family and stuff like that. So I'm kind of doing stuff till like 9 or 10, meeting with people or doing interviews. Then I do radio interviews like the whole time. So I just got done. This is my last radio interview of at least 10 today, maybe 12, maybe more than that, something like that. So, and then I just got back, actually, since this is on the phone, I got back to my hotel room. And so then next up is going to be a nap. And then I'll get a really good workout in, actually. And then I'll go to party number 1 and have some daddy sodas there. Then I will transition to party number 2. But I'll still probably end up getting back by 10. So I'm getting, 5.5 hours sleep. I'm just starting earlier, I guess.
All right. That's not bad for Vegas. We're chatting with Ross Tucker. The game plans are in. We all know what's at stake here. Both teams are great teams. We know Andy Reid has been there and done it. We know Mahomes has been there and done it. And there's a lot of focus on the idea that Brock Purdy has not been there and done it. But I'm not sure there's enough conversation going on about Kyle Shanahan and what's at stake with him. We're so obsessed with legacy in sports media. And as of now, he's been a guy that, hasn't been able to close it. Obviously, he was the OC when it was 28-3, not the head coach in Atlanta. But still, his fingerprints, I guess, were over that collapse. And we know what happened 5 years ago when they had a lead against Kansas City. How much pressure do you think is on Kyle Shanahan to put forth a game plan and ultimately execute and win here so that, he can improve on a legacy that he's been building on?
I would say a decent amount, because it does feel like if they lose this one, it's going to be all about talking about how Kyle can't win the big one. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think I've been saying this week, and I tweeted this at Ross Tucker NFL, that it feels to me like Kyle Shanahan is at like the Andy Reid in Philadelphia phase of his coaching career, where Andy was a really good coach. Everybody knew it. The Eagles were going to the conference championship game every year, which was fantastic, and they went to one Super Bowl, but he was never able to get over the hump in Philly. He was never able to get the win, and I think that right now is sort of where Kyle Shanahan is. So he needs to get it, right? I mean, they've had a good team now for a while, and they've been knocking on the door with all these conference championship games. Obviously, he really wants to be able to get over the hump and get this done.
Ross, are people obsessed with the phrase or the term game manager? Like, it just seems like they love calling this Purdy the game manager. And I don't know if it's because that's just what he is, or because if something happens and the Niners don't win, like, people are going to love saying, well, he's just a game manager. He can't get it done. What's your take on that whole terminology and how much it's being tossed around?
Yeah, I guess the first thing I would say is they never say a guy's a game manager if his team's losing. You ever notice that? They only call you a game manager if your team's winning. So that's a pretty good sign, I would say, to start for Brock Purdy. And then the second thing is, on some level, Tom Brady was a game manager. What they're really saying is, when they say game manager, is they're saying we're not wowed by your physical ability. You don't wow us, right? And I think certainly if it's a situation where, you weren't drafted very high, I think that contributes to it for sure. I think that's part of it. And so, I don't know, man. I'm at the point now where I feel like Brock Purdy is disrespected, and I think it's draftism on some level, which is, it's like, to me, they're at a stage where we've always done this. How many chances does Zach Wilson get with the Jets? Like your draft status stays with you forever, and I can't stand it. Brock Purdy, he's just good. Get over the fact he wasn't drafted that high. And, yeah, he doesn't have a bazooka like Josh Allen. He doesn't throw off platform like Mahomes. He doesn't, run all around like Lamar Jackson. He's just good, but he doesn't ever do anything that wows you like those other guys do. But what did Brady do that wowed you? Oh, man, what a nice 5-yard pass to Welker. Like, that didn't wow you either. And the reality is, if you're trying to do, if you're doing what the coaches want you to do, you're not going to be wowing people. If you get the ball out quickly on time to the guy it's supposed to go to, you're not going to be wowed by anybody.
Where are you at with Kadarius Toney? Do you believe that they will trust him? Do you believe that he will play? Do you believe he will catch passes from Mahomes in the Super Bowl?
I don't think he'll play. I don't even think he'll be active. I think he'll be gone after the year. I believe it's a total non-factor, non-story.
There you go. It took them a while. But that's exactly what it should be. I mean, we've been discussing him since the first game of the year.
Yeah.
It's been Kadarius Toney, and he's done nothing to deserve that type of conversation. Yet, the Chiefs, they've found a way to kind of get over what was a difficult offensive season based on their standards. Yet they're still in the Super Bowl, Ross. Like I'm not sure how. Like, how do you think we'll look back on this season? Let's say the Chiefs end up winning. Was this an impossible feat that they found a way to achieve in the end? Is it just Mahomes and Kelsey and Reed are just too good? Because they did have ups and downs. They didn't have home field. They had to go on the road in the playoffs. Like, if they end up completing this and end up winning, how do we look back on this year for Kansas City?
I think we look back on it and say it's probably the most impressive of their Super Bowl victories because of the path that they had to take to get here, right? I mean, to have to go to Buffalo, to Baltimore, I don't know that I thought they'd win either one of those games. I certainly didn't think that they would be in this spot all season. It's extremely, extremely impressive. This would be their most impressive Super Bowl run in my mind because it would also absolutely cement and stamp them as being a dynasty, which we don't see many of them. There's usually only one every decade or so, and they got a chance to be that team.
With Ross Tucker. So, Ross, we're getting close to Valentine's Day, and my understanding is myfrontpagestory.com is the place to go. What are we talking about here? What are we looking at?
Well, first of all, we're talking about Don't Be Like Me, okay? Because I got my wife like 4 different gift cards for Christmas, and I recently said to her, what do you want to do for Valentine's Day? You want to go out to dinner? She said, sure. I said, well, we should probably use one of those 4 gift cards I got you for Christmas. That did not go over very well, but I thought I was just being practical. Mm-hmm. You got to change it up. Like, you can't always be doing the gift card or the flowers. Go to myfrontpagestory.com. Again, it's myfrontpagestory.com. You literally, guys, you talk to one of their writers for, 10 minutes while you're driving to Timmy's or you're driving home from work. Tell them how great your significant other is. They write this incredible story. Looks like it's on the cover of the newspaper. Framed, beautiful, awesome. And just to be able to give it to her and say, honey, I want to do something special, so I had a story written about you. Like, that just sounds so money. It's not even funny. They cry almost half the time, tears of joy, when they actually read the article. There's something about seeing it in print, framed, and having it hanging in the house. Can't highly recommend it enough. myfrontpagestory.com. It's myfrontpagestory.com.
Love it. Well, that's exactly what we're looking for. Big gift card guys over here. We'll change it up. Thank you, Ross. Appreciate it, buddy.
Absolutely. See you guys.
There's Ross Tucker. He's off to shut the mill down for a bit. Jim, and then party 1, party 2.
But isn't the mystory.com, like, won't she say, like, you couldn't even be a written? I'm not trying to go check it out.
Yeah, I'm on there right now. It actually looks
check it out.
Decent.
Yeah,
I don't know.
What are you suggesting? It needs to be handwritten in order for it to be.
No, but I'm thinking about Dear Hazy B and how we help people, and I'll get to a situation where I thought about you guys helping me in a second. But you could get, like, did you write this? Is this original? Like, it better came from the heart. Was it yours? You know what I'm saying?
You hear all these stories.
It's all good, man.
I mean, isn't it on Instagram? There's like, hey, I surprised my wife with a country song or whatever, and you play it. They're driving, and it's a song written about the two of you or whatever. Right. Somebody does that. Like, it's unique. I'm looking at it. There's like an elderly lady that it must have got it for Grandma, and they hung it there, and Grandma's face is sitting there. So I don't know. I mean, Everybody, listen, it's better than gift cards, which, we all do.
So I like a gift card. I like think a gift card's very thoughtful. You know my stance on that.
Yeah, I thought about you guys the other day because my wife set a bear trap right in the car. She had to run into one of our markets that we go to on Sunday, and she said, what do you think you're going to do? Just sit in the car and wait, or do you want to come in with me? And I went right to Dear Hazy B. I'm like, what should I do? And I looked and I said, I'm going in.
Yeah.
And the smile ear to ear, it just made her day. Because if I had to stay in the car and we had a lunch with her parents and we would have went home, I would have got the stare and said, I can't believe you didn't come in the market. And just like,
got to get in there. It's a couples thing. Absolutely. Everyone's helping. Everyone's contributing. Very important stuff. Very, very important stuff. All right. Thanks again to Ross Tucker. Again, Jake Delhomme will join us later this afternoon. This week we're giving away a pair of tickets. The Leafs Flyers, February 15th, plus throwing in a $250 Vanilla Visa prepaid card, which is always a great call too, right? Little Vanilla Visa prepaid card for Valentine's Day. We'll get the job done with each pair of tickets to make it the ultimate game night. Vanilla Visa prepaid cards are available for purchase at Petro Canada. Today's player of the day is Craig Berube. It's got to be Craig, right? It's got to be Craig. And Craig didn't only play like 40 games or something for the Leafs because he was involved in that Gilmore trade. He went the other way to Calgary. Right. So Craig Berube is your Maple Leaf of the day for the Leafs lineup. And Craig will join us in about a half an hour. And role play level of concern in about an hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Craig Berube will join us just after 5 o'clock. Role play level of concern at 5:30. Bunch of games in the NHL last night, including the end of the road for the Oilers. They run into the Golden Knights and Adin Hill, and it was a good game, competitive game, playoff-type game, right?
Yeah, I thought the refs did a good – they just let them play. Like, there wasn't cheap calls or anything. Like, it was a playoff atmosphere. I thought Adin Hill was unbelievable.
He was really good.
Oh.
And, McDavid gets on a 2-on-0. That would have set Sheldon Keefe off if he saw that with his team. Draisaitl, McDavid, 2-on-0 on a power play. That's tough looking. But credit the Golden Knights. Credit Edmonton. They win 16 in a row. But that's the boogeyman out west, man. Like that, you get a healthy team. It's Vegas.
No Eichel. Yeah, I don't think there was Carrier. They had some guys out there. Well, and what I love about them Noodles is they don't just rely on like neutral zone rushes. Like they literally say to themselves, Edmonton's playing a better brand of defense. We have to manufacture some goals. And that's what they did. It's like back to the point, go to the net, bang one in, like slot shot off a cycle. It's like that's how you play the game.
They played a simple game. Like my whole thing I was asked today, like is Vegas the boogeyman or are they the kryptonite for the Oilers? And I would say last year, yes. This year, like Adin Hill, the Oilers had 19 high danger chances. Like if Hill plays average, that game's a 5-2. Like it was 19-7 in chances. Like it was, to me, it was really lopsided. But you're right, Vegas deserves credit because they're missing 3. Like Carrier, I guess maybe farther down in your lineup, but Theodore and Eichel not available to them last night. Those are 2 big pieces. Number 1 centerman, number 1 defenseman. But they got it done. And Adin Hill. Man, the more you watch him, he's growing. Like he's a good goaltender, and Sean Burke deserves a lot of credit. Oh, like Sean personally, I know him personally. He's an unbelievable goalie coach, and you can see like the coaching from Sean Burke and Adin Hill, his ability. He's so big and he uses his size. Like the Oilers had some really good looks, and Hill just looked really composed in the net. I really liked his game last night.
Yeah, he's good. And that's a big loss last night, not because of the streak coming to an end, which is disappointing. I obviously, if you're the Oilers, if you're an Oilers fan, you wanted them to catch Pittsburgh, pass Pittsburgh, but it also had, point implications and playoff implications. We talked about it yesterday. Edmonton was 5 points back, but they have 5 games in hand. Now they're 7 back, 5 in hand. They probably make up the 7 points, likely the way they're going over the course of that 5-game in hand situation. But you're talking about a battle, right?
Yeah, you could have caught up.
Exactly. And if Vancouver is going to likely win the division, they won again last night. Like Vancouver, I saw a stat someone was posting online last night that even throughout this run by Edmonton, they haven't really made up any points on Vancouver because Vancouver doesn't lose. And they went into Carolina last night and won last night. Lindholm gets 2. So you got a scenario there where, as it currently stands, it seems very likely that Vancouver is going to win that division. So if you're Edmonton, you're thinking we gotta get home ice on Vegas. Like you really want the upper hand there.
Yes.
And that's why last night, on top of the streak coming to an end, 2 points in regulation going to Vegas may have an implication on the way this season ends up playing out.
Yeah, and you just saw ahead on that division for the Central. They're in first, ahead of Colorado and Winnipeg, whose tires we've been pumping all year is the Dallas Stars, who the Leafs get tonight. So let's see what they got tonight, fellas, because Dallas coming into town, they know what they're doing, and they'll do whatever you want to do. You want to grind, they'll grind. You want to go up and down they'll do whatever. And they get goaltending, they've got it all. So they better have their A game tonight. What that is, I'm not even sure right now, but they better have something.
Well, luckily, I mean, I wouldn't say luckily, but you're catching Dallas. Like Dallas played last night. Now, it's not a big travel day because it was in Buffalo. But you're right. You're catching him on the back-to-back, so I would imagine Wedgwood's going to play tonight, correct? Has he been announced
Ottinger played last night. I would assume he
and
plays
Ottinger was unbelievable. I had the horse eye on that game. I think he made 40-plus saves. Like, he was really good. Buffalo really poured it on. But that being said, like, Dallas is a top-tier team. The Leafs have to find some consistency within their game. There's pockets of the game where they look really good. There's pockets of the game where they looked overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And we'll see if Samsonov can be a difference maker as well. Like we talked about it in previous segment. Like at some point, Martin Jones going to need to play some games, or Joseph Wall or somebody else. Like you can't just go a month straight of Martin Jones and then a month straight of Samsonov. Like that's not the formula of what you need here. You need two guys that can both play. So it'll be interesting to see when Samsonov's next start will be. I'm sorry, Jones's next start.
Yeah,
sorry.
Because, again, Samsonov is going tonight.
Yeah.
And, it's a scenario where they're coming off a game the other night where they let one get away. Their coach was really unhappy. You know, Sheldon Keefe had his peewee comments, and then the next day I wouldn't say doubled down, but he certainly didn't backtrack and said that they've played well 50% of the time. And –
that's think truthful, Hayes.
That's honest. That's where they are. You are what your record says you are, right? And they've been very inconsistent. Yes. And that's who they are. And, Jonas wrote an article in The Athletic highlighting, the disparity between the big guys and the offense they're supplying compared to the depth scoring. We saw it the other night, right? Marner scores, Tavares scores. It's like you got to get something else from Bertuzzi, from Nyes, from Domi. Riley supplies offense on defense. Outside of that, it's not really there for them.
It's non-existent, man. It's non-existent.
They got to get it. They got to get, and that's why, like, Keefe has always been a guy that has thrown the blender out and changed up the lines. But in doing so, he's kept the big four, together effectively. It's some combination of Matthews with Marner or Matthews with Nylander, and whoever's not playing with Matthews is going to play with Tavares.
Well, what do you want him to do? Do you want him to try to put them on different lines and then have three lines that basically you don't have a choice right now?
Well, I guess that's what I'm wondering. Like at some point, if it's this drastic, where it is with the other, like you're not going to get offense out of Reeves, Noah Gregor, Pontus Holmberg if he's playing further down the lineup. But so we're effectively talking Nyes, Bertuzzi, Domi, Yarncrook when he's healthy, which he's not, and Nick Robertson. Like those are five guys that have the ability and a history in this league outside of Robertson of guys who should be supplying scoring and creating offense.
Right.
So, at some point you're going to have to get it. We've focused so much on the defensive issues of this team, and those are still there. And there's been focus on goaltending, which again, we'll see how this all shakes out the rest of the way. But if you're going to make the playoffs and then make noise in the playoffs, you cannot go into basically every game and say, Matthews better score tonight. Marner better score tonight. Like you talk about an easy game plan. If you're Pete DeBoer and the Stars, you're walking in saying, okay, guys, there's like 3 or 4 guys, right? Like we really got to hammer on them. And then beyond that, we'll see what the other guys can bring to the table here.
How about this, though? You play Wednesday, you play Saturday, you play Tuesday. Okay? How about Matthews and Marner and Nylander? We'll say Tavares, I think, a little bit different. Can you find 24 minutes? Can you find 23? Like, why all of a sudden, why does Ryan Reeves have to be out there for 10 minutes, for 8? Or, why is that for? Like, in a game like this where you're playing a top-tier team on home ice, why not try and find an extra shift for guys who are really impactful. I don't know.
I understand what you're saying, and I would agree with that logic. I do think they play them a fair amount. But then you look at a couple nights ago, Noodles, where there's some arguments that Matthews shouldn't have been out there for 2 minutes on the power play.
That's what I was going to say, Hazy, because then this is just going to lead into by Tuesday they're all out of gas and they got nothing moving forward.
Right.
We run them into the ground.
But the thing is they're 20. They're not 34 years old. They're 26 years old in the prime of their career, and you can find on a given night you can find 3 extra shifts, which is an extra 2 minutes there. This is what I struggle with. I see other coaches do it all the time where a guy's going early in the game. Like Chris Knobloch, for example, in the Oilers during this streak, the one thing that I was really impressed with is Ryan McLeod is a kid farther down in the lineup. He would find an extra shift for this kid because he was flying. So you've got to find in-game adjustments isn't just we're adjusting to what they're doing. Have Dallas adjust to what the Leafs are doing on home ice. You can find and double down. If Marner's going, hey, find him an extra shift on that third line. He's not being demoted. You're giving him extra ice time and maybe getting a favorable matchup on the other side.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think, I think Keefe has that approach with those guys. I think it's more about if Knies has a great first shift, get him back out.
Sure.
I guess what I'm saying is Keefe's got to focus on Domi's flying, play him more than 8 minutes. That's right. Kind of, and I get the double-edged sword. The opposite side is Max hasn't scored at all. He has literally, what has he got, 4 goals in 48 games? He doesn't score. So it is a conundrum. Tyler Bertuzzi doesn't score. John Tavares, I don't think, Jonas wrote it today, I don't think he has a 5-on-5 goal in 25 games.
Yeah.
So it is a desperate situation offensively because your instincts go to 34 and 16 and 88, obviously, and those guys are going to play even if they're off, unless it's horrendous. They're going to play. The question is, you mentioned McLeod in Edmonton. How do you find that guy early in the game? How do you locate? Is it Nick Robertson? Okay, he's buzzing. He got a couple opportunities. We're going to have to play him 18 minutes tonight.
Right.
Because they got to find it somewhere. It's not going to come.
It's a fine line, guys. Because I used to love when Peter Laviolette. You had to be on at the beginning of the game, and the one thing I did like about that is everybody was generally ready to play. Because if you weren't, you had a bad first period. It's like your second and third, you might not get a lot of ice. Because he was like, I'm going to have a look at your first couple shifts, and obviously there's exceptions with different players, but. Do you really want to be switching the lines around like that? Are you going to roll through and say, everybody give me 3 shifts, and I'm going to see who the best left winger is, and you might get to play with Matthews?
I think
that's great, but it's got a Pee-wee type vibe to it where it's I don't know.
I think maybe what I was trying to say, because, listen, if you look at the ice time the other night, Marner did play 24 minutes. Matthews did play close to 25, so they got their ice time.
They play.
But, do you need to have a 4-line night? Maybe it's
Noodles, I totally get that. These guys are not old dudes. They should be running out there, but it's you know what it's like. If there's 3 games in a row like that where their minutes are up around 24, 25, 26 for forwards, that is a boatload for forwards.
Well,
and then if they run out of gas, the big question is, why the hell was the coach running them out there that much? Because now they can't even skate.
Okay. So I'm going more where Brian said, too, is Nick Robertson played under 9 minutes. Can you get him out for another 2, where maybe those minutes come from the fourth line, and you find an extra shift where if he has the ability, and same thing with Max Domi, same thing, Tyler Bertuzzi played 17. I'm looking at guys in the top 9 and go, can I pull 2 minutes from that fourth line and sprinkle that out in your, in that third and second line somewhere, moving guys around. That's kind of what I'm going with this. Is if you think Nick Robertson deserves a little bit more ice time, find it for him. Don't just roll that fourth line and go, hey, we got to get them out there in a rotation because their fourth line's out there. To me, and I'm not taking a shot at the coaching staff. I'm just saying, if you are moving things around, you might want to shrink, who gets the big amount of ice time in this particular game against a top-tier team on a Wednesday when you don't play till Saturday. And then you deal with it Saturday.
I think, the conundrum for Keefe is that the issues are quite clear. It's that they have defensive breakdowns. The guys we're talking about, Nick Robertson is not a guy he trusts.
Correct. Yep.
Max Domi he doesn't trust, in a bad spot, and yet in depth scoring. So this is the concern. Is it's like you can play guys on the third and fourth line that many more minutes because if you feel you can trust them defensively, because it's worth giving them 3 or 4 minutes to hope they supply offense, but understanding they're also not going to burn you the other way.
Yeah.
Right? Where I think what Keefe is constantly dealing with is, man, it's 2-1. I can't just keep riding Matthews and Marner and waiting for a power play to pop up. I got to get other guys ice.
Yeah.
But it's 2-1. And if I put them out there and then all of a sudden, Hintz jumps over the boards tonight, we're in big trouble. Robertson jumps over, his brother, we're in trouble. Like if Nick Robertson's out there with Jason Robertson, might be in trouble defensively.
Yeah.
And that is the conundrum of the way they're built.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Hayes, I find it weird to be in February having this conversation, to be honest with you. And it just goes back to what you said. You are kind of what your record is. And that's why we ultimately are having these conversations. Because they don't say, they've won 8 out of 10 and can Nick Robertson push up? We're doing this because they're trying to find something that's to work.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're right.
And
you're right.
that is the essence of the Leafs season, really. And I think the essence of the frustration from Keefe and a lot of the fans, because you're like, they do have talent. They're a good enough team to be a playoff team, but there are clear issues that need to be addressed, and I'm not sure how they're going to be or if they can be internally because we're 48 games into the season. Craig Berube, role play level of concern coming up in hour 2. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.